Welcome to a brand new episode of Indian Food and Football. Myself, Shayan, joined by Arunava Chaudhary, a keen follower of Indian football for a long time. Welcome, Arunava, to the show. And let's have a great discussion about Indian team who are supposed to play tomorrow against Lebanon, a team I think a match made in heaven. For last 6 months, I think we will be playing them much more than often. So we are again meeting them tomorrow. So how was the feeling? What is your take on the first match before we go to the questions? And again, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Shine. I think if one is honest, it was a very, very good game overall by India, given the circumstances and everything. But the end product wasn't there in the end. I know our head coach in the end blamed the referee, but I would rather like to point out that this has been a problem of Indian football, be it the men's, the women's, the junior sides, for decades now, that we are unable to close down games. And it showed against Iraq. We had the better opportunities, but somehow or the other we couldn't close down that game. And we are conceding overall too many penalties, which also saw against China in the under 23s, where we were lucky to get away with two potential penalties. Again, Mr. Steemach will not raise that topic. But the point here is I think there were a lot of positives: the fight, the grit, but there were also certain weaknesses in the build-up play, which are very clearly visible. And it will be interesting to see how the head coach reacts to that and sends which team he sends out for the match against Lebanon.
So, what's your take on the Indians team current form actually, and what do you think? Do you think this team improving from last time what we saw in 2 months back in the SAF Cup? Team, we played pretty well against Iraq. Team ranked at least 29 notches upper than us, 70th ranking currently, and a team which is very. I think they are currently ranked 8th in the Asian AFC zone. So one of the strongest team recently. They have a very good outing against very good teams. So in the Gulf Cup. So do you think the Indian team can draw a lot of positive from this game?
They should draw a lot of positives from this game. As you mentioned, Iraq is a superior side than us. That was also mentioned by the head coach. If you see the way they played, they had more of the ball possession. They even had more chances, despite us having the better chances in that game. So the statistics sometimes do sort of turn things around. And if I speak to Iraqi friends, they were very, very unhappy with the performance. They were talking about the team not being ready for the game, unable to cope with the field, unable to cope with the weather. So, these kind of factors, which sounded very, very like, what we were talking potentially pre-match if we were to lose heavily against Iraq. So from that perspective, I think we have taken the momentum forward. Our players have mainly played in the Duran Cup, or some other players trained in Thailand pre-season. So they seem to be more accustomed to the weather and to the ground. And there's this new self-belief in this Indian team. So these things showed itself. And that was, I think, the biggest positive coming out of this game, which also saw India play without Sunil Chhetri.
Correct. So, any player update for tomorrow? Do you think Changte is starting tomorrow? Because we were quite surprised that Akash Mishra would play the first game. Because the coach in the previous press conference said that he may be ruled out of that game, but he played the game, and I think he played pretty decently that game. So, do you think Changte coming back tomorrow after a fever? He had a fever in the last game. So, do you think he's coming back tomorrow to play for India?
It depends if Changte is fit enough to play. That's the first thing. And one interesting fact with Igor Steemach is that be surprised with his lineups. So that is something that could happen as well. That we're all expecting him to play certain players, and on the other side, there might actually be players that might start tomorrow who we do not even have on our list, or potential list of who could start. So therefore, let's see. He's been making certain surprises during the games in the matches, and let's see if he puts out the best 11 or puts out the best 11 he thinks on that day.
So, if I ask you one question, means after the match, yes, the day before yesterday, and there was many things happened after the game. Our coach didn't attend the press conference. Do you think it's penalty is something which is beyond anybody's control? It can go either your way or against your way. So I think
With whatever he's doing, he's harming the team. I think he's harming the team. He's instigating people in a way, and again, we are putting ourselves into these situations. We need to be avoiding these kind of situations where there are these 50-50 penalties, which could be or should not be given. About the first one, there's no discussion. That was a clear-cut penalty. The second one, I first felt it was a penalty, but I also feel it is something which you don't have to give but can give. So I don't think it's a non-starter of a discussion to say it's not a penalty at all. Because if you're going up in the air in that way and you've got a man behind you and there's another one again, and I take the example, if Sunil Chhetri did that and got us a penalty, we would say, oh, Sunil Chhetri is smart, clever, whatever, right? So let's be realistic. And I think there are a lot of positives from this game. There's certain negatives also from this game. We're not talking about any of those. We're only talking about this whole penalty and referee discussion. And this is harming India going into the AFC Asian Cup. And someone at the AFF needs to have another word with the coach and try to make clear to him and say, listen, with your talks, with your antiques, you are in the end harming your own team. Nobody's saying this. Maybe most probably I'm one of the few who are saying this publicly and openly. Someone needs to tell Igor, said, Igor, please, please, please keep your emotions in check. Focus on the positives, work on the positives, get the result.
Correct. Arunava, do you think that while not attending a press conference, is coming directly to an live platform and discussing about the penalty issue? Do you think this kind of things can he could have avoided, and he should rather focus on the next game? Because if he following this stuff, he's already received a so-called notice from AFF, and I don't know what's the reply he's given. But if this goes in that way, then he could be in a lot of trouble in the coming times. So, do you think it was much needed to come in a platform and say, and rather than speaking on the press conference? Where he could have made a statement there. In fact, the coach Jesus Cassis also said that India, we were lucky to get that penalty. But this happens in football, right? I don't know that. This can happen. It will go either way, or because if you see in today's game against China also, and the under 23 team, there was a clear penalty where India could have considered earlier only. We should understand this before we come to a conclusion. So,
and the question is a different one. Why are Indian players, our defenders, at the moment conceding so many penalties? That is the question that one should ask.
Correct.
No one is asking that question. Why are we getting in that situation? Which means either our positioning is not right.
Correct.
Are we fast enough, switching fast enough? That is one. And what are the reasons behind that? Am I working on those? Because again, you saw that with, as you said, but with the under 23s, we to some extent lost the game against China because we conceded a penalty. And actually, again, there was at least two other contentious decisions. I think one of them was not a penalty. The second one, I felt the arm wasn't really on the body, so that you could have given it a penalty. So we got away with that one. So why are we getting in those situations? And that's, I think, we need to do introspection. And I think this is something which is, and you've said it, no, I don't go on a platform and the anchor and I then go on a rant and everyone, the world is against me and whatever BS that has been spread on that. And and again, focus on your bloody work. This is all, these are all side politics. Do your bloody job. And the point here is, you are not focusing on that, because this has been the case for the last 4.5 years. Whenever there was a chance for a big result, be it the Oman match, where I was in Guwahati and India deserved to win that game, we collapsed in the last 15 minutes. If you go back now, you saw after 60 minutes, and you're also saying that, oh, you know what, the players are not fit. Now, then the question is you're trying to work out something with the ISL coaches. You're also blaming the ISL coaches. So I don't know. This strategy is not a positive one, in my opinion, and this is not working. And that's part of the job of a coach, and someone needs to put a tab on it.
Sure, sure. Oh, now the coming back to tomorrow's match against Lebanon, a team we have played in SAF Cup, we played in the Euro Intercontinental. Again, we'll be playing over here. So, do you think what do you expect for our team to do tomorrow? You think India are the clear-cut favorites, or do you think it will be a pretty dicey game tomorrow? Because we are playing first time in a neutral venue against Lebanon. Because the previous games we have played in India, this is the first time we'll be playing against them in a neutral venue. What do you think?
I think it's a 50-50 game, as all these games were. I think none of the games India outplayed Lebanon in a way to say, listen, we deserved a big win. So that's the honest reality. It's going to be another close one, and it depends on who is better on the day. I hope we are better on the day. I hope we are able to once more beat Lebanon and keep that winning run going. Even though, of course, it's a tough one, and it will be interesting to see, because I think Lebanon and India know each other now so well that that there are no surprises per se in both the sides. So therefore, we know who they will try and focus on, and we know who we need to focus on, and that's enough. I mean, Hassan Matuk will be a problem. All these guys were there. Yeah, it's a quality side.
And first, I think the challenge we will face is we have played them in our condition, and how we play them against them. And if you see I think we'll be having the game in the same stadium. I think that's another concern. I think what we have seen, the pitch conditions have been really poor. I don't know. I think
no, but I think
Thailand
that's favoring us. I think if we are honest about it, against Iraq, the ground conditions, the weather favored us, because our players are used to hot, humid conditions on slippery surfaces. So this is, again, this will be an advantage to us against Middle Eastern sides who are more used to dry, hard soil grounds rather than these kind of conditions. So therefore, this is,
correct.
Think about it of being Chiang Mai sort of has a Kolkata Maidan ground with a world-class stadium around it. Think it like that.
No, correct. Well, now, I think one question I want to ask you: do you think which is the position you think India is very vulnerable, and we can pay price for that in the Lebanon match? Do you think which position do you think we are a bit lacking there, and which can be exploited by Lebanon?
Nikhil Pujari, who was great towards the end of the SAF Cup, was a weak link, I felt, in the match against Iraq. Sandesh Jingan, both the penalties came against him. Was not at his best. Sandesh knows it himself, and I'm sure Sandesh will do a better job. And our build-up play from the back, am I trying to do things that my players are unable to do? And I think in the one and the other occasion, most probably Gurpreet needs to just blast the ball forward and hope someone or the other gets to the ball and does something with it. I thought that if you look at Ashik, had his moments. If you had opportunities in that way, with Sahal, with Mahesh had their moments. So therefore, there were things in this game which look very, very positive. So hopefully the positives will be there more importantly.
Arunava, can you pick two people from India and Lebanon who can be player of the game?
See, Mahesh Naurem has been one of the pick of the players for India in the last few matches, certainly, potentially. Changte certainly is someone to look at. And Sahal Abdul Samad, looked very, very good. Those would be the ones to potentially look at from the Indian side.
And Lebanon, any player from Lebanon you think I think we should have a close look on?
I think Hassan Matuk, their top striker, is, if he's fit, he's going to be the one who could be interesting. Daniel Lajoud was someone, who's South American or Central American more, if I'm not wrong. Um, is one of those players that I would look at. Maybe Khalil. So therefore from that they've got players. They've got interesting players. Lebanon, especially those who've been born in Europe or in the Americas, who make this team much stronger. Um, and add quality to the players who play locally in Lebanon.
So Arunava, I think I want to ask you one thing regarding the substitution. Last matches we had done 6 substitution in the game, and do you think that we could have substituted Nikhil Pujari in that place, because we thought what I thought he could have I think he didn't deserve to play the 90 minutes that day, and he was totally out of place. I think it was an error from both Sandesh and him that cost us that penalty. If you think, because we were knowing that any striker in the world would go for that, because we have to give the credit to the striker. He was very clever in that way. Do you think some way our Nikhil Pujari, who showed a great glimpse in the last phases of Hero Intercontinental Cup and in the final phases of in the full phases of SAF Cup, do you think he somewhat looked out of shape in the first game? And I think we can
Uh,
start somebody else in his position.
it depends on what the coach thinks is right. Um, I would feel, yes, he could have tried Ashish Rai. I don't know why he didn't. What we forget, of course, with Ashish Rai has never played for the senior team.
Okay.
So that's also a factor in this. So we have some players in this squad who have little or limited international exposure at this level. So therefore, maybe the coach is reluctant to potentially play these players.
Correct, correct. So now that we have just made an formation and we'll be sharing on the screen. So I think people will have an understanding. So this is how the playing 11 we think would be playing tomorrow in the ground. So now that your take on this take on this team, do you think this is the correct formation, or do you think we should change somebody or get in somebody in place of this 4-2-4-2-3-1? That's a formation we see God playing. So you think any player who think can get a place in here?
See, knowing Igor, the way that he's done his things over the last few years, and looking at giving potentially match time to certain players, I think he'll make 2-3 substitutions. I'm not sure where he is. I think that defensive line is most probably the one where he will stick to the players. He might start with Brandon in place of Sahal. I think Brandon, who missed the penalty the other night, will want to prove a point. Don't know if Thapa plays. Maybe he puts in Suresh in that position. Those might be things. And maybe if Rahim Ali is fit, Rahim Ali in place of Munveer up front. So, those would be the ones where I see potentially certain things happening. And depending on if Changte is fit, I don't know if Changte is fit. If Changte is fit to play, then the question is if Changte comes in, if Mahesh Naurem or Ashik Kurunian stay, or one of them goes to the bench and Changte comes on. So yeah, that would be my thought process.
So now what do you think the playing 11? We have seen the playing 11 substitution you want after 70 minutes. The players already we have showed. Who are the players you think should be substituted from here? And any player you want to have a give them look in after the 70 minutes or the 60 minutes over, once it's over?
It depends on how the match is going, to be very honest. I think that is very, very difficult to say, I want this team or I want that team. It depends on, what's the result. Are we leading? Are we behind? Is it a drawn match? How is the momentum of the game? Is someone playing well? Are there injuries in the game? All these kind of things are factors which we should not forget, and therefore are factors. I mean, I was looking through the stats. I mean, we have none of the players in the squad who are part of this squad at the Kings Cup have double digit goals. So the highest goal scorer amongst our boys at the moment is Changte with 7, followed by Manveer with 6, and Sandesh has 5. And that is something which I find very interesting to see, that that we actually, when Sunil is not there, we actually are missing a lot of goals. and again, a lot of experience has been left at home. There's no Rahul Beke, there is no Pritam Kotal, there is no Bipin, so it'll be interesting to see how this squad really does. Yeah, and then it's a test. It's a real test of to see who is, who how good are we at the moment.
So actually, without Sunil, I think this is a good taste we are facing. At least playing abroad also in a neutral venue. Where without Sunil, it's a good test for our youngsters, and I think in the first game they have done a pretty decent job. Hopefully tomorrow is a game I think where they can prove a point. So now the
See,
coming
I want
straight
to
to the
I
point
want to
again.
make one point because you say for our
Please,
youngsters,
Omar.
this is an experienced squad in the sense of number of years in the ISL. We have, I think the Akash Mishra most probably is the youngest. Yeah. Otherwise, everyone is 23, 24, 25, 26,
Yes,
27. Actually, it's from age perspective, it's an experienced squad. From an international exposure perspective, it is not. So therefore, to also call them
yes.
youngsters, I feel would be wrong.
No, by saying no, I'm calling them youngster in basis of the international experience because that is quite limited. Means if you see, they were many of the players were never in the part of the schemes. If you see Nikhil Pujari, who is playing the game now, he was not in the scheme of things in last 6 months back. He's right now your one of the starting 11 players. If I go to again to we have nowadays Mahesh Singh. I think how many games he has played. International game. Akash is again a 22-year-old guy. So experience. I think I understand Sandesh and Gurpreet is somebody, and Sunil Bhai has already played so many games. But rest of the team in international exposure, I think Manveer has also played a lot of games, but international experience somewhat I think they lack. And actually a few of the people have not have warmed the benches. They have not even been given chances by the coach. If you see the SAF Cup also, many people
Mm.
who were in the team but who were not given chance as Sunil was playing. So this has happened. That's why I said, anything you want to add before we go to the last part of the discussion where about India's chances tomorrow, your scoreline prediction for tomorrow, and how do you see the game going?
I think that India will win. It will be a close one. It's either a 1-0 or a 2-1. I think I go with a 2-1 rather.
In favor of India.
Yes.
Okay. One any last comment on the refereeing or in the Kings Cup? I think the other game also was full of controversy. Do you think refereeing and the ground conditions should have been looked better by the Thailand FA? I think they should have when they have invited three teams of more or less same part. I think they could have looked into, because if you see in the SAP also, we were not a great host, but I think at least we were better than this. But if you ask me, we thought we were the worst, but come what Kings Cup proves us wrong. I think we were better than there, at least in the first game when I see that ground. So do you think Thailand should look into this matter in the prior when they organize this prestigious tournament, which is the 49th? I think this
See,
is the 49th year of
yeah.
this event. So that's a quite historical event.
See. The reality is that it's monsoon season in Southeast Asia, and we've had this discussion many times on grounds in Kolkata or in where the Kokrajar thing during the Durand Cup. Um, Surely you can say that Thailand could have prepared in a different way. Could have most probably held the tournament in Bangkok itself, not take this tournament to Chiang Mai, which is, if I'm not wrong, a few hundred kilometers north of the Thai capital. Um,
Yes.
that is one. On the refereeing, you have to live with it, if I like it or not. And the more I speak about referees, this is my own experience in football. You don't help your case. If there is a 50-50 opportunity and the referee keeps in his mind, he's going to blow against you. There is no VAR to rectify things. And this is
Correct.
something, again, this is about psychology, about understanding football. And, I think that does prove a point.
Okay, so your take for tomorrow is India winning the game 2-1. So let's stick to that. The people will be watching the video. I think I want to say you few things. Tomorrow game we can, I think it's starting at 4 p.m. Indian Standard Time, like previous game, and you can watch this at Eurosports, Geo TV. If you have Geo TV, Eurosports is there for free on FIFA TV Plus app. Also, you can see it for free. So you can tune in at 4 p.m. Indian Standard Time for the game, and hope we have a great game. And I think like last year, we have a very good chance to finish third in the podium. So let's hope that we finish third, as our expert already predicts a 2-1 win in favor of India. Hope India wins the game, and we are back with we gaining some confidence from Kings Cup. So thank you everybody. Thank you Arunava for joining in, and it was a nice discussion. And hope to see you soon again in a new podcast with a new discussion. And Indian food and football. If you guys if you've not subscribed till now, do subscribe Indian food and football to get the latest updates of Indian football, where we cover a detailed analysis of Indian football team wherever and whenever they play. So thank you everybody for watching the video, and do like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.